I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. A federal judge in Arizona has just affixed the sanction amount for Kari Lake's lawyers. Kari Lake, the MAGA Republican conspiracy theorist, election denier, extremist, failed gubernatorial candidate of Arizona. Kari Lake's lawyers, for filing frivolous federal lawsuits on Kari Lake's behalf in federal court in Arizona, have been sanctioned now officially based on this order by federal Judge Tuchi as of July 14th, 2023. They've been sanctioned close to $125,000. I think it's about $122,000 in change. And Alan Dershowitz, who was representing Kari Lake as well and who appeared on TV, he tried to wiggle out of the sanctions order, claiming that he was just serving as an of counsel and was just providing some limited guidance to Kari Lake's attorneys, but that he shouldn't be considered to actually be one of her real attorneys and be sanctioned. He wasn't representing her, he said, even though his name appeared on all of the federal filings. He said, I didn't know they were putting my names on these filings. I didn't authorize it. But Judge Tuchi wasn't buying that. And ultimately, though, he did give Alan Dershowitz a small break, and Dershowitz was basically sanctioned 10%, but had these Rule 11 sanctions levied against him. Dershowitz says that he's going to appeal. So Dershowitz owes like $12,000, and the other attorneys representing Kari Lake owe the rest. Just so you remember what this lawsuit was even about. Kari Lake filed this lawsuit against Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, Secretary of State of Arizona, and other election officials, arguing that the entire election system in Arizona, and she said specifically in Maricopa County, was flawed. She said that Arizona only uses an electronic voting system with no paper backups, and that was susceptible to hacking, and so the entire system needed to be revamped, and she sought injunctive relief from the federal court to basically order that the entire state's election proceedings be revisited and redone. I mean, but she was wrong. I mean, Arizona has one of the most safe and secure voting systems in the country. Yes, they have electronic voting, but then they also have the paper backups. It is a system with numerous redundancies that's actually quite effective. But Kari Lake started spreading the lies from the outset, prepping that if she lost, she was going to blame it on some conspiracy. But in a court of law where evidence matters, her lawyers were basically laughed out of court by federal Judge Tuchi and sanctioned. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors and others filed motions to dismiss. The case got dismissed in August of 2022, and then the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors filed for sanctions against Kari Lake's attorneys. That was heard over the course of 2022. Back in December, Judge Tuchi granted the sanctions, and then this was basically a determination over the amount of the sanctions, and you had Alan Dershowitz here arguing that he should not be sanctioned. Ultimately, he did receive the sanctions. So here's the kind of final sanctions order by federal Judge Tuchi. Sanctions. The remaining issue is the appropriate sanction. The court already concluded that the payment of the Maricopa County defendant attorney's fees is warranted in this matter, and the reasonable attorney's fees total $122,200. The question is whether this sanction should now apply equally to Mr. Dershowitz or whether a different sanction is warranted. As noted, Rule 11 sanctions must be limited to what suffices to deter repetition of the conduct or comparable conduct by others similarly situated. The rule, therefore, serves the goal of both specific and general deterrence. In determining the appropriate sanction, it goes on to say, the general deterrence concerns posed by Mr. Dershowitz's conduct do require vindication However, attorneys like Mr. Dershowitz must be reminded that their duties are not qualified in the way he suggests, and that courts are entitled to rely on their signatures as certifications their filings are well-founded. The court, therefore, will reduce Mr. Dershowitz's share of responsibility to 10% of the total fee award, but will not eliminate it entirely. It is therefore ordered, basically granting in part and denying in part the motion for attorney's fees. Plaintiff's counsel Andrew Parker, the law firm of Parker and Daniels, Kurt B. Olson, and the law firm of Olson Law PC, are held jointly and severally liable for the Maricopa County defendant's attorney's fees in the amount of $122,000. And Alan Dershowitz is held jointly and severally liable for the aforementioned parties up to the amount of $12,200. But I just want you to think for a moment here how cowardly Dershowitz is. For Dershowitz to basically say that he lacked any involvement on the issues. This is what he says. It says, on December 29, 2022, Dershowitz filed his application. He requests the court deny any such award given his limited involvement in this matter. And this is a quote of what Dershowitz said, and his lack of any involvement in the issues raised by the court in its order granting sanctions. It goes on to explain Dershowitz's background as a lawyer, and it says, Dershowitz maintains that his involvement in the case was limited to just a constitutional issue, that he was paid for his time, which he approximates to be 3 to 4 hours at his normal hourly rate. He testified that he had no input on the decision to bring suit, has no opinion on whether voting machines are vulnerable to hacking, which was one of the central claims underlying this case. He claims that he was not retained to investigate the facts and contends he did not participate in drafting the complaint, other than as it related to voting machine companies' alleged refusal to disclose their software. And it goes on to say, Mr. Dershowitz's signature block appeared on the complaint alongside those of Parker and Olson. Dershowitz signed the complaint with an electronic signature under Alan Dershowitz Consulting LLC, listing an address in Florida. He was listed as of counsel for plaintiffs, while the others were listed as counsel. And then it goes on to say, though, that he was listed as of counsel in other documents as well. And it says, Dershowitz never moved to correct the filings and suggested he did not review them. Despite his claimed status as a consultant, he still applied for admissions to be an attorney of record, a pro hoc vice attorney on the case. He claims he did it reluctantly, asserting in his declaration that it was at Mr. Parker's request, one of the other lawyers. And then it said, in any event, Mr. Parker informed Mr. Dershowitz he would need to be admitted pro hoc vice. That just means an out-of-state attorney who appears in state. And Dershowitz testified he believes he only became aware he might be subject to sanctions when media reports about the court sanction order named him among plaintiffs' counsel. Again, take a step back here for a moment. You got Alan Dershowitz, who claims that he purports to be the super smart lawyer, and now, when accused of, hey, Dershowitz, your name was on the complaint. Your name was on all these filings. Your signature block appeared. Your name was on the sanctions motion. Oh, I didn't do anything in this case. What are you talking about? I don't know. It was the other lawyers. I was just a consultant. I'm just of counsel. I didn't do any investigations. I don't know what's going on in Arizona. Not me. It's them. So don't blame me. At the most basic level, how do you put your name on the complaint? How do you not know that? Like, it's the most basic thing in the world. But, it's illogical. The judge understands it. The bottom line is that Kari Lake's lawyers are going to pay this sanction of $122,000. There's still going to be Rule 11 sanctions for the amount of $12,000 against Dershowitz. But, it just goes to show you, these people are total cowards at the end of the day. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Wherever you get audio podcasts, subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast and have an excellent day.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.